Hey guys, so I'm gonna do a review on the Eternals. Now, in the ranking of, I guess you say, MCU movies, I would say that Eternals is up there as one of the best. But I'll be honest, that's not that's not a hard task. I don't generally have a really good impression of the MCU, opinion of the MCU, because just some movies just tend to be so generic and boring. But this, it actually tries to do something, and so that kind of elevates it for me, and it's still one of the better movies overall. Writing and acting wise. But yeah, well, let's just get into my thoughts on the movie. I'll just start with like a general synopsis of the movie. Starts out with these beings that come to man's world, or Earth, if you will. And they are essentially the inspiration for a lot of the myths and legends of, gods and all that. Because you notice that some of these beings have certain powers. For example, Athena, obviously supposed to be the inspiration for Athena, because they actually call her Athena in the movie. But yeah, and so they are obviously have a hand in the entirety of human history, and so. But then they try to, I think they were trying to explain why exactly, even though they supposedly cared for humanity, or these powerful beings, why exactly did they not intervene when, say, Thanos or any of the other possibly world-ending events happened? And it's explained as their master did not want them to interfere in human history. I think it's implied that they didn't want humans. They wanted humans to grow. They didn't always want them to rely on the Eternals to grow. But that brings up the issue that they continually give them tools to help them evolve. And so that kind of defeats the point, unless they're going to try to say that, well, we gave them the tools and they're going to do with what they want. And I still think that's kind of a cop-out. I think they were just trying to explain why exactly the Eternals did not intervene when Thanos happened, even though they're supposed to be protecting humans. But then it's also kind of explained that the reason for why these masters suddenly want them to reveal themselves, I guess, is because, I guess, Thanos snaps, and I think this is from the trailer, I don't think I mentioned it in the movie. His snap brought back humans all at once, so it created the energy possible to awaken this, and I was getting Steven Universe flashbacks during this explanation.
You've sure got the one trackiest mind I ever met.
Need form to be whole.
Whole? Oh, your shards. You just want to find the rest of your gems. But forming won't help you find the rest of yourselves. You'll just destroy the Earth.
But yeah, it was just this being is in the center of the Earth, and the Eternals are supposed to awaken it so that it can destroy the Earth, and then begin the process of reseeding another. I don't know if creating another planet that they can reseed, or just going to seed another planet for creatures to develop again and start the cycle over again, essentially. And so that also raised questions, because why does all these people being snapped back into existence at once suddenly make it more valuable, or make it more impactful than the people that were already on this earth in the first place? Unless I don't know, it's just so confusing, honestly. I felt like it was just an explanation to try to explain what the Eternals were doing during Thanos' invasion, because they didn't really actually plan for the Eternals when they didn't actually plan for the Eternals. They just, like with most MCU movies, just tried to explain previous movies with whatever new movies coming out. It did kind of hint at other interesting topics that I think would have been interesting to explore. For example, because the Eternals have lived for centuries on this earth, they kind of run into issues. Like one of the Eternals, it's revealed that they're created by this being, and there's one Eternal that's created with the body of a child. And because of this, despite her being centuries old, she can never find someone else to be with because she has the body of a child. And I really do think this brings up like interesting issues that these Eternals might have, that I think it would be really interesting to explore more into that. If we do like a more like in-depth character analysis of the Eternals, I think it would be an interesting movie. And then it also kind of falls flat in trying to explore that, because there's this other being, and I cannot remember the name. He can control minds, and I guess throughout the centuries, he slowly becomes disillusioned with man, because men are very, they use the tools to, kill each other and create war. And so it gets to the point that he just gets tired of it, and he just starts controlling the minds of all the people, and just leads them out of the city into this jungle where he essentially creates this little community where there's no violence or anything like that. I'm not averse to having kind of interesting exploration of like how certain powers can be morally questionable. But the problem I have with that is that when these creatures attack, he then, despite having kind of tried to call humans like warring and stuff like that, he then uses these humans to fight against these creatures, their will, because they're not controlling themselves, he's controlling them. And it does take the other Eternals begging him to stop, to let them go and be free, that he finally decides that. And then throughout the rest of the movie, it's kind of glossed over, and he's kind of implied to be the hero. And so I think it would have been interesting to kind of have this moral, like, exploration of, like, the morality of this, like, power, the ability to control minds, and whether or not it's kind of ethical. And so that's kind of where I feel it fell flat. They tried to show us how their powers could be used, but then kind of just glossed over certain aspects that would make these characters kind of questionable, whether or not they're actually good or morally great. So, in that aspect, it kind of disappointed me. The main romance between Cersei and, I do not know his name, I'm just going to call him Superman, since he has the same exact powers as Superman. But that romance just felt so flat for me, and I don't know if it's just a lack of chemistry between the characters, or it's just how the characters were written. Superman, oh my god. I cannot remember most of his scenes, just because he had so little impact, honestly. He doesn't really have much personality. He doesn't really have that big of an impact, other than he's strong and sometimes, saves people. And by people, it's usually just Cersei or the others, Eternals. But yeah, I felt like, considering how he's supposed to be like one of the big bads towards the end, they really didn't set him up enough for us to feel anything when he kind of is revealed to be this villain. I just kind of felt nothing. And when he ultimately sacrificed himself, I felt nothing. Because they didn't really make me care enough about him to feel anything for him. Yeah, and during that final fight scene, there were points there were a few scenes where I kind of liked it because you kind of see some creativity when it comes to the powers. Something I kept running into was how these powers, these Eternals' powers, kind of compare to each other. Because I know that they all have these powers that they get from the same source. I'm assuming it's like that stone that they wear. I think they wear it, right? Except for Cersei and Jax. They actually was inside of them, and that allowed them to actually communicate with the Master. I'm assuming they get their powers from that source, right? So, do they all have like the same level of power? They just have different abilities, different ways of using that power. So one has speed, the other has strength. So, do they equal each other? Did they equal each other out? When it comes to like fighting each other, I mean, we do see them fight each other, and we kind of see a little bit of back and forth. So I'm wondering if they have the same power level, they just have different ways of using that power. Which is why, I really do wish superhero movies, when they have these movies that have beings with power, they would relate these powers to like the real world physics and natural laws. That would really allow you to determine just how fast these beings are. I guess you could say it puts, for example, like I don't remember her name, the Flash. I'll call him Flash. Flash and Superman. And it's ironic because we actually get that scene in Zack Snyder's Justice League. But in the Eternals, we get the speedster, I guess, and the super strong person fighting each other. Do their powers equal out because they're from the same source? Or is one stronger than the other? I don't like that we don't have like a comparison to compare it to. Say if with the Flash, we know he runs faster than the speed of light. Well, we know about the speed of light. We know how fast that is, so we know how fast speed is, or Flash is. But, like the Eternals, their power, and I'll admit I don't know much about the Eternals, but I don't think they ever kind of give us a scale of just how, like a comparison to like real world natural laws, so that we can really determine just how powerful they are. It reminds me, Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Flash, he's incredibly fast. He's even faster than Superman, as we see. Superman's still pretty fast because he can almost punch Flash, but Flash is still faster. But when he goes to push Superman, Superman's still stronger, so it throws Flash off, and he ends up running into a wall. And so, I really do love how we because we know that Flash is faster than the speed of light, and I know that he probably wasn't running that fast at that time, but we still know that he's still incredibly fast. But Superman, because he's also is able to almost punch Superman, we know he's incredibly fast as well. And I just really like when they connect these powers to natural laws so that we can then get a sense of, the skill of their powers, I guess I'm trying to say. So that was something else I kind of ran into with the movie. And honestly, I think that's kind of true of most of the MCU movies. They're just not very good at giving us like these really kind of allowing us to see just how powerful these characters are overall, but I tend to be the kind of person who really likes when comic books really try to stick to real world, how something would realistically happen. Obviously, kind of stretching and breaking laws, but trying to keep it as close to how it would realistically happen as possible. It just makes me appreciate these, movies so much, which is why I tend, I appreciate this a little bit more than most MCU movies, but still. But yeah, that's kind of was my thoughts on the Eternals. I guess if you think this movie was better than any of the other MCU movies, or other MCU movies are better than this, just let me know down in the comments. And so if you like this video, give it a like, subscribe to get notifications for all the videos I'll be doing. And you guys have a nice night. Stay safe out there and talk to you later. Bye.